This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What am I, an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Welcome to the Godless Revolution. Today is Monday, July 24th. It's Pie and Beer Day.
And this is episode 147.
Yes, it is.
It'll be 148, Matt, because last week was 147.
I thought it was episode 49.
/ 165. Tonight is episode 166. And we're gonna make this a little bit shorter show because
it's a holiday and we're still here doing this show for you guys.
Yeah, and we were doing stuff before the show, and then I need to get it edited and all done by Thursday night because I am blowing town for the mountains to go camping. So
whose town?
This town, all the towns.
Oh,
you're gonna
blow them all.
His first name's Pete.
I'm gonna be out in the wilderness.
Pete Townsend.
And
Dan's not nearly young enough for that.
For Pete Townsend?
Yeah,
I know Pete Townsend.
Didn't he have?
We're like this.
That's why he's blowing them.
Didn't he have child porn on his computer?
Pete Townsend?
No.
What?
From the Who?
What?
I'd never heard about that.
I've not heard that.
Well, I have inside info.
I have
on a bunch of different UK residents.
Oh.
And their goings on.
Mm-hmm.
Did Pete Townsend have a van?
Oh, yeah, probably.
Okay.
He might have had a windowless Ark.
Ooh.
I noticed that in addition to the porn stash, you have a bit of a beard today.
I haven't shaved in a couple days.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you haven't been at work, right?
No, I took off from work on Saturday to get new ink done, so I haven't shaved since.
That's right. It's looking really good,
yeah.
man. How much longer have you got?
2 more sessions. So 12 hours.
They're each 12 hours?
No, 12 total. Like this was 6 hours right here.
Yeah.
So I didn't ask you earlier, but why the giant dildo?
Oh, it's an astronaut.
Oh, yeah, exactly. An astronaut.
Astronaut.
Because I felt like it. Doing the space theme, put an astronaut in there to make it.
I think you're promoting some flat Earth theory with the trees being so close to the astronaut.
Well, that's just to give a breakup on the wrist.
A likely story.
It looks pretty sweet, though.
Aren't you the one who brought all the flat earther shit to us?
Yeah. Well, that was for the Patreon only section. So if you want to hear the flat Earth shit, you got to go to become a Patreon member.
You're secretly into the flat earther stuff.
It's some crazy shit.
Well, yeah.
And I still dive into it once in a while on YouTube because you get the actual scientists that are arguing back and forth with flat earthers, where they're trying to one up each other. But the crazy flat earthers are like, well, yeah, but you're trying to use gravity to explain your side. And we all know gravity is not real. It's just made up. Can you show me gravity?
Can you give me a handful of gravity?
Yeah. The reason why things fall to the ground is because we're at the bottom. Everything falls towards the bottom.
So dumb.
It is.
How much overlap is there with flat earthers and the hollow moon guys?
I don't know, but the flat earthers, the reason why they believe it is because it's biblical.
Because the Bible describes
the earth is flat, surrounded by an ether.
Mm-hmm.
So the ether is
So certainly Christians should believe in a flat earth.
And that's who mainly it is that are believing, the hardcore flat earthers use religious background to back up their evidence for why it's flat.
Yeah, and anybody who calls themselves a Christian and accepts a round earth is not being true to their book.
True.
They're accepting science.
And they even like to use old Christian drawings, ancient drawings of the earth being flat, and see, if it was true then, why isn't it true now? It's because of
well, hell, anybody who gets sick and goes to the doctor isn't putting all of their faith in the book. I mean,
true.
Yeah.
If you wash your hands, you're not putting all of your faith in the book because if you got sick before, it was that you had a demon in you and
Yeah, but
needed to get it out.
Right.
God created a science guy.
A science guy. Bill Nye?
Not Bill Nye. This was a different science guy in like the late 1800s to come up with a thing called germ theory. God gave him that knowledge.
God made a science guy to come up with germ theory.
Yeah. And then to invent soap to combat those germs he created.
Well, it's interesting that God would wait all the way until then to have someone discover the fucking germs that he created at the very beginning for no reason.
It was an oversight.
Yeah.
He was like, I created something
I'm sure
here.
it was, yeah.
I got a lot of creations. I got to think through this. Which creation is it that's making them sick?
It's like, well, I never
Not the
expected them to
butterflies.
eat dirt and shit.
Yeah.
I got to fix that.
Well, tonight we've got a lot of stuff going on. What did you guys do? Oh, so what I did during the week. So over the last week, I've been fucking busy. I bought a truck. It's a very nice.
Yeah, you did.
Nice truck. Got a 2004 Ford F-150 with the long bed and super cab.
So now you can haul more shit in air conditioning.
So it's got the suicide doors, but the long bed. I wanted the long bed because I have to haul all of the Atheists of Utah shit everywhere. And without the long bed, that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
But this truck is so big that it's also very difficult to park places. You have a little spider on your thing, I think.
Do I?
Yeah. Is it a spider? Looked like a spider. Anyway, so I got a truck, and then I had to go and get it inspected and get the emissions done, and then I had to go get the temporary tags for it. Got all of that done during the week. Then Thursday we had the Board for Atheists of Utah come over and go through all of the Atheists of Utah property, throw away a bunch of garbage and old stuff, sort through it all, do inventory, get it all cleaned up and ready for Pride in Ogden. What is that, next weekend or the weekend after?
It's like the first weekend in August, isn't it?
I think so,
Like
yeah.
the 8th or something?
So we got all of that stuff ready. We had the Atheists of Utah annual board meeting. So I did all the recording and set up for that. Then we had Megan come and talk to us on Sunday, do a presentation for Atheists of Utah. And yeah, doing all the setup for that. Had a pie and beer day party on Friday. I've been running ragged, man. And then work has just been going nuts too. Like,
I saw you post something the other day saying, fuck work, time to drink.
By the end of Friday, I was just like, fuck it. My fuck it bucket's full, man. Way too many drops fell into the fuck it bucket on Friday, and it was overflowing, so I was done. And then today was just a continuation of that. I've been just super fucking busy. But what did you guys do?
I worked Thursday, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Watching badass storms roll through the desert, thinking we're going to be fucking working.
More dry lightning, yay!
It ended up being very wet lightning, luckily, but was up late that night anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had like 200 some odd lightning strikes in the base or 2 miles from the base.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
So yeah, we got lucky that nothing really caught fire that night. Then, of course, got the tattoo started. The outer space with the astronaut.
It's looking really cool, man.
Does look cool.
And then I went and saw Dunkirk.
Right. And that was good.
Yeah, I liked it. It was done differently than I thought it was going to be, but I still enjoyed the movie.
You mean differently because it was PG-13?
No, differently because the way the storyline unfolds, it was very unique. It didn't follow a traditional process of telling the story. So, yeah, it was different that way.
Well, cool. And you, Matthew?
I was busy all weekend too, just errands and getting shit for Lake Powell trip.
Yeah. That's exciting. I haven't been to Powell in so long. Like, I don't even know what the water level is there anymore.
I have never been there.
It's up quite a bit from what it but it depends on how long you've been there, how long it's been since you've gone, because the last few years it's been dropping a lot, and so now it's finally coming back up, and so a lot of the beaches and stuff that we had a couple of years ago are gone. But yeah, I just basically run around getting shit from a boat.
Yeah. That's cool. Like I said, I haven't been there forever. We had talked with some other friends about, hey, I remember when I was younger and we would go to Lake Powell with our friends, and, we would take tents, and maybe one or two people would have a boat, or somebody would bring a jet ski.
We get fucked up.
And we'd just get totally shit-faced, and then we'd see people drive by on these giant houseboats, and looked like that was cool, and then I thought, hey, I'm that guy now. Like, I'm old, and I have some money that we could all, like, get a big houseboat together and just cruise around the lake. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't even think about that. Like, so I was looking at pricing for that. Maybe we'll do that next year, because I haven't been there forever.
Houseboats are fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time on the lake.
I love it there, man.
Plus, we're planning on killing it on striped bass, too, because they've got their DNR said they're estimating, give or take 5 million, 10 million stripers in the lake right now.
Oh, wow.
It's really hard to estimate exactly, but no less than 5 million.
That's a lot of fish.
And in order to sustain a population of predatory fish, they have to have at least 10 times that amount of forage fish, like shad and bluegill. And
so they want people to go in there and clean up on.
Yeah, take everything you catch, take it out of the lake, because
there's too many.
There's a fucking ton of them.
Ooh.
Which is good. I mean, it means we'll definitely catch some, but it'll be hard to hook any big ones. We'll get a lot of like 3-4 pound probably, but that's good. They're perfect.
That's a meal.
Perfect to eat. Yeah. So
awesome. Well, that sounds like a shit ton of fun, man.
I
hope you have a good time. Let's move on to other things.
Okay.
Oh.
This is Danielle Moscato, civil rights activist, trans woman extraordinaire, and public speaker. You are listening to Godless Revolution, and I hope you enjoy the show.
The next rant will start right after this.
I wanted to remind everybody that we are having a drawing. This drawing is for those of you awesome listeners who go out to iTunes or Stitcher and give us a 5-star review if you feel we are worthy and would like to be entered into a drawing. If you have already given us a 5-star review, please go out and screenshot your review and send us an email with that screenshot to godlessrevolution@gmail.com, and we will enter you into a drawing for fabulous prizes. This drawing will run through the end of July.
That gives you extra time.
Yeah, that's scheduled to be episode 167. So we'll hold the drawing while we are recording that episode, but that gives you plenty of time to go out and submit a 5-star review, again, only if you feel that we are worthy and would like to be entered into the drawing. Then take a screenshot of that, send it in to us at thegodlessrevolution@gmail.com, and at the end of the month we will hold a drawing for a fabulous prize.
Yeah. And the reason why you need to email it to us is because we don't know who the hell you are on iTunes with your
right, because your screen name or user ID or anything doesn't really tell us much of anything, nor does it give us any contact information for you. And include as the subject line that it is for the prize drawing or review prize drawing. We'll enter all of you then who have done so into a drawing for a fabulous prize. Get on it, people. Get out there. Give us a review, and we'll enter you into the drawing, and one of you will walk away with something really cool.
Well, then last week you said that you'd probably grab a few things and put them together and say, hey, what do you want? So the person who wins actually gets to choose, hey, I want that cool Star Wars item, or hey, I want that atheist-related item.
It'll be a fabulous item that you will get to choose from several different items.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll just have different drawings going forward for a bunch of stuff, because I'd like to give it away to our listeners, because you guys are awesome. Yeah. So, please get out there and do that.
Rejoining the Godless Revolution podcast now.
So, we already were talking about flat earthers.
Yeah.
And we had this story queued up, so I thought, that'd be good. Well, you guys did.
Yeah.
Said, what should we start with? And you're like, we queued that one up already. Let's do that one. Which is a good idea.
This couple on this show, they make some odd comments to me.
Oh, yeah?
They make them to you?
Yeah. Well, to us. To atheists, to skeptics.
Oh, okay. Well, what do they have to say about the flat earth?
So, well, it's funny because some creationists are apparently mocking flat earthers for taking the Bible too literally.
Yeah. Which isn't that what they fucking do?
This is a video by the people over at Answers in Genesis. You know, Ken Ham, the Ark Park, all of that bullshit. Features quote-unquote scientists Georgia Purdom and Danny Faulkner, who laughed out loud at theories floated by people who believe the world is actually flat, versus those who believe that there was enough water somewhere to flood the entire surface of the earth, and then it rained, and then a man built a boat to
get, and there were dinosaurs on that boat,
or that Jesus could walk around on the earth when it was flooded.
Yeah, or that there are talking donkeys and talking snakes and talking bushes and all of that other stuff.
Yeah, that
stuff probably happened or did happen, but a flat Earth, that's just crazy.
Even they have their limits.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, like, so these people are quibbling over whatever may or may not be true within the Bible. What's literal and what isn't? Okay, so can I give them a Bible and a highlighter and have them tell me which parts are fake and which ones are supposed to be taken literally?
Yeah, how do they know?
How do they
make that determination?
The thing is you can give out 10 Bibles to 10 different people and they'll highlight different fucking parts.
Exactly, which proves that they're cherry picking.
Mm-hmm. And even those parts that they all say are true, they would still interpret them differently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to agree on every point within the things that they accept. They'll say, well, it means this, and the other person will say, no, it's true, but it actually means this.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got this whole video talking about how silly flat Earth people are.
And it's like 10 minutes long. When I watched it, I couldn't get through 4 minutes of it.
Let's see how long we can get through.
All right. We might want to unmute.
Flat Earth supposedly from the Bible.
Yeah, we could do that.
I want to point out that these arguments that people put forth today for the flat Earth supposedly from the Bible don't come historically positions of the church. The church never argued these points from Scripture.
Which church?
This all arose in the 19th century. And surprisingly enough, these arguments that flat earthers are using supposedly from the Bible to support flat Earth are ones that were put forth from the skeptics and the atheists in the 19th century, trying to bring disrepute upon the Scripture, showing it's not authoritative. So I'm puzzled, and it breaks my heart at the same time to see people parroting arguments that are 140, 150 years old.
From people.
Oh, the arguments that he uses on a regular basis don't come from a 2,000-year-old fucking book.
But what he's
says, embarrassed about the ones that are 140, 150 years old.
But the weird thing he's saying is that skeptics and atheists use the same arguments that flat earthers are right now to prove Christianity. I'm like, are you saying that?
I think what he was saying was that 150 years ago, atheists were saying, your fucking book says the earth is flat. Why don't you believe that? And that's where that argument came from. But what I want to know is, why don't Christians just use the Spirit to discern what's true in the book and what isn't? What the fuck are you doing?
Let's commune with the Spirit, shall we?
Yeah, it's their fucking fault.
People who are skeptics.
An atheist, so you're using their arguments, not the church's arguments. Check the history on that, and you'll find out what I'm telling you is the truth here.
Can you go back just a second? I want to see what she said, because was she saying, she was scoffing, kind of like using arguments of skeptics. Well, she said that specifically.
But see, that's where I'm still iffy on this, because if 150 years ago, skeptics were using this reasoning to disprove the Bible, but they believed the earth was round.
The skeptics did.
The skeptic would have believed the earth is round. Here they're saying that, it sounds to me like they're saying the skeptics were saying the earth was flat. Why don't you believe this? When I'm like, I don't think the skeptics back then believed the earth was flat.
Well, no, they wouldn't, but they're saying the Bible says it. Why are you you don't even believe your Bible. Your Bible says it's flat.
Exactly, but where I'm going with the flat earthers they believe the earth is flat, and they believe the Bible's 100% true.
Right.
They don't use the argument as hey, the Bible says it, so why don't you believe this stupid nonsense? They're like, no, we actually believe this nonsense.
Well,
it's 100% true.
Yeah, but they're saying the flat earthers are using the same argument that atheists and skeptics did when the atheists and skeptics believed the earth was round and would talk to Christian people and say, this is ridiculous. Your book says that the earth is flat. Why don't you believe that the earth is flat?
Yeah.
And now flat earthers are using that. And so these guys are talking about, well, these Christians who also believe the earth is flat, well, you're using the same argument that atheists use.
Yeah, you fell into a trap of falling for the atheist's trickery, but
it's what your Bible says.
Yeah, you're not even believing your own fucking book, dude. That's the whole point of the atheist argument 150 years ago.
Who are skeptics.
An atheist, so you're...
Let me back it up a little bit more here.
So I'm puzzled, and it breaks my heart at the same time to see people parroting arguments that are 140, 150 years old.
From people who are skeptics.
An atheist, so you're...
She's totally scoffing at people who are
if you're
who are
skeptical,
skeptics.
you're just stupid.
People who use critical thinking? Oh, why would you parrot them?
Yeah, you need to be totally credulous to be a Christian, a true Christian.
Folks, you're using their arguments, not the church's arguments. Check the history on that, and you'll find out what I'm telling you is the truth here. And that's really bad. So they're resurrected from all of those. So, again, I have an article, the most recent article I have on our website on this from a couple of months ago was on the biblical argument. It's kind of a lengthy argument. I'm not going to go in detail here. I'm just going to hit a few high spots. I suggest you go to the article for
It's
more
really
information.
good. I read through it, and I thought it was very informative.
And one thing you got to keep in mind is that some people, they accuse us of believing everything in the Bible is literal. Well, we don't believe everything in the Bible is literal. There are many idioms. There are figures of speech. There are also imagery, particularly in the poetic and the prophetic passages. In fact, most of the arguments are coming from those books.
But like Matt said, how do they choose? How do they know what is an idiom or allegory or
True. Well, but at the same time, I guarantee I can go find a clip of Ken Ham saying the Bible is 100% true. It's all true.
Right. And the other thing is that, human brains are pretty good at pattern seeking, categorizing, compartmentalizing. That's what human brains do. So when you're reading a piece of literature and someone uses a metaphor that says, the sky was sapphire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a bright, sparkly blue or something, right? Something like that. It's not literally made out of gemstones.
Right, yeah. Right.
You understand that fits into the metaphor category. But if someone writes a piece where they're explaining things they're observing in more or less scientific terms, I'm not saying the Bible uses science necessarily, but I'm saying if they're trying to say the earth has four corners, it's, and it's flat and there's a dome around it in the firmament. That's not a metaphor for anything. That's what they believe.
Yeah, that's a
They're
description.
describing it. Yes.
Yeah, because I think it says that the earth is a disc, and in that disc it has the air, and then there's a layer. Yeah, there's the firmament above that, and above that is the stars.
To that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. And so he thinks it's stupid because he knows the real answer now.
Yeah.
He has the real answer that the earth is a sphere. So it sounds stupid to say that, no, we all live on a fucking CD.
What songs are on it? Is it a single or is it like a full album?
A full what?
A full album.
Album.
Yeah, album.
Yep, it's a full album.
Because I hated paying $14 for a single with 3 songs on it.
Where there is imagery and the simile and metaphor. But for instance, Jesus said, I am the door. Well, did he have hinges? Did he have a latch on it? Did he have a handle? Of course not. We understand that it's not a literal door. So nobody really believes that the Bible is completely literal. One last thing, a lot of these are not.
That's a perfect example of what I was just talking about.
Yeah.
Well,
obviously, of course, a human isn't a door.
Yeah.
He's saying, I'm the way. It's through me is the path. This is the one thing, right? We all get that. That goes into this compartment. That's different from saying God created the earth in 7 days. That's a description.
Yeah. And this is how he did it. He did it in this order using,
Yeah, that's a description. And I bet you he believes in Adam and Eve. Why isn't that allegory or metaphor or Adam's a fucking door or whatever the stupid thing he comes up with?
And Eve's a rib.
Right.
I think I've told you guys before
how you used to believe that men had one less rib.
Until I was 24 years old, I thought women had one less rib than men.
You were dumb.
And it wasn't because I thought that because it was a biblical teaching necessarily. I thought that, well, clearly people aren't so fucking stupid that in today's age they would still be saying that, God used a rib from Adam and that's why men have one less rib than women. Because we have x-rays and we can count and people are still saying this, so it must be true.
You don't even need x-rays. You can run your fingers down and count the ribs.
So you were assuming that people had already looked for that, and if people are still repeating that now, it must be the case that males have one fewer rib.
Yeah.
It has to be. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, but people are still repeating that creation is real.
Do you know what Adam's favorite food was?
A McRib?
Spare ribs.
Dad
jokes.
Dad jokes, I had some.
Don't mail me about that one.
looked at in context. If you look at it in context, you'll see it means something very different. But anyway, one put forth by some people, again, most flat earthers don't do that, is they talk about the 3 times that the 4 corners of the earth are mentioned. Twice in Revelation, once in Isaiah. They say, see, on a spherical earth, you cannot have 4 corners. And that's true. However, every model of the flat earth I've ever seen out there is round and flat like this. Mm-hmm. There are no corners on this either. So it would argue against this, we call it the snow globe model the other day. Right. And particularly I wanted to mention the one in Revelation 7:1. It also mentions the 4 angels standing at the 4 winds and talking about the 4 corners. The repetition of 4 there is, I think, very significant. The 4 winds generally refers to north, south, east, and west. Right. Today we talk about winds coming from those directions or combinations of directions. So this is an idiomatic expression referring to the 4 directions in space on the earth.
But those aren't corners.
No.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's probably as good an answer as it's way better answer than I could have expected. And he's actually right about the disc thing too.
Yeah.
That doesn't solve it either. The problem is that he said that. What did he say that disproves the flat Earth? No.
It just means they built their model wrong.
What it means is that particular phrase has no bearing in reality either way.
Yeah.
That biblical phrase is completely useless, utterly stupid nonsense. And that's the part that he missed about it. But the other fact is, what about all the other descriptions? What about the firmament? That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Of course it's bullshit. What does he say about that? What about the stars being stuck to the firmament? That's bullshit. Yeah, it is. What about the earth being the center of the universe? That's bullshit. I mean,
but that's all still described.
That's all. That's all part of the same descriptions that, like the 4 quarters of the earth. Yeah. So or corners. I mean,
well, and he made the case earlier, tried to make the argument earlier that nobody has ever believed this. Really, you can talk to biblical scholars and blah blah blah.
It's like,
dude, people were killed for saying that the earth was round before.
Yeah.
People were killed for saying that it wasn't the center of the universe.
And people don't die for lies. You guys believe that?
And we need to take the Bible as it's written. I mean, not everything literally. No one believes I don't know any.
What the fuck does she mean then? Take it as it's written, but not literally. What does that mean?
And he was nodding. He was like, yep.
Yeah.
But we take everything else as literal.
I mean, but you take it as it's written. So history is history. Poetry is poetry.
And so what is the Bible? Is it history or is it poetry?
I think they're saying it's a mix of those things, and whatever's convenient they take literally, and whatever's not is poetry or allegory.
Yeah, you can disprove creation with science.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we could start our own sect that says that, actually, all of this Genesis creation bullshit is just that. This is all poetry and allegories. Some people do that. That this isn't really God saying that's how it was done. This is just him providing us a bite-sized piece for us to understand how we came to be, because it would be cruel of him to leave us without a history or some bullshit like that.
I mean, that's how I take the entire Bible, even though like some things might have certain historical places that are accurate places. It's like, yeah, but you can go into a lot of literature and have, they're talking about a historical place, but the events they're talking about going on didn't actually happen. They're just using places that people know and can describe and use an actual literal place they've been to as a background.
Yeah, within like a 50-mile radius?
Yeah.
Prophecy is prophecy, and that's important to remember, and not to take it out of context.
That's it.
You have to take the surrounding verses around it as well.
And the another idiomatic expression is the ends of the earth recurs 28 times. They say, well, you can't have ends of the earth on a spherical earth, but that's not the point. In those cases, referring to the most remotest parts of the inhabited earth, I'd suggest Psalm 67:7, 98:3, and Isaiah 45:22 are examples of those. And again, go to my article and look at that.
Oh, so you don't want to tell people what they say.
I think one of the most bizarre ones that are given is Daniel 4:11 and 20. They quote that with those 2 verses, or either one of those verses. You have a tree here that grows a tremendous height, and the tree is so tall it's visible from everywhere on the earth. And of course, on a spherical earth, that's not possible, but on a flat earth it is. So therefore, Daniel is teaching that the earth is flat.
How is that bizarre? Why is that the most bizarre one?
Read the entire chapter.
Right.
Yeah, that's the most bizarre part of the Bible. The talking burning bush wasn't.
No, I think he was just saying bizarre. that particular case is the most bizarre of the flat Earth arguments, which I think that's probably one of the best ones so far.
Yeah, to prove it's flat, like, there's something visible from all parts of humanity.
All parts of the world.
It has to be pretty relatively flat then, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see that it's an account of one of the dreams of King Nebuchadnezzar. This tree that was so tall it could be seen from all the earth was in a dream. Nothing in a dream is real.
Nothing? Nothing in a dream is real?
Yeah.
Inception.
What about...
'Tis but a dream within a dream.
Yes.
Wasn't it... Did the Lord or the Holy Spirit or whatever appear to Mary in a dream, or did they come to her in real life?
I thought that
that she was going to have Jesus, then she would bear the Son of God. Was that a dream or was that real?
I thought that was real life. I don't remember correctly. I thought it wasn't it like the angels came and it wasn't?
I don't remember.
I would have to go.
Or not. I think it was presented as it it came to her in a vision. So
in a vision,
yeah. Well,
they would probably draw a delineation between dream and vision. I wouldn't.
Yeah. She was getting crunk, and she saw some angels.
Yeah.
They don't even know if that correctly reflected the cosmology of Nebuchadnezzar. Maybe it did. Maybe it did. Right. Doesn't really matter.
It's a symbol of something.
Symbol of something, because actually in verses 20 and 22, Daniel, giving the interpretation of the dream, says that Nebuchadnezzar is the tree. It doesn't say he's like the tree. It says, Nebuchadnezzar, you are that tree, which, by the way, did I mention is in a dream? Mm-hmm. So it's a representation of something that's not even real. It's not.
So I'm listening to this guy talk, and I'm struck by how fucking ridiculous it is that they're arguing points. They're trying to argue logical points in a book that's all fucking nonsense. It's all garbage.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's wrong because in this part of this book of bullshit, it says this thing.
So, I think he's just pointing out his book is full of bullshit.
And now you know how I feel about comic books.
But we know they're bullshit.
The big book of bullshit says this, and this guy says this in the big book of bullshit.
That's why it's fun to use comic books with the Christian narrative. Like, well, we know that's not real.
It is. It's like toddlers arguing over my dad could beat up your dad and which superhero could beat up the other one.
Yeah, and they never grow out of it. I know. It's
not literal in this case. So if you read the whole chapter, you would never come away saying, well, this proves the earth is flat. It's not possible to think that in a rational world, I don't believe.
Well, someone had asked, and this goes along with the whole idea of that tree thing. It says, if the earth is flat, how come you can't see China with a telescope while standing on top of the Chrysler building? Well, if the earth is flat and it's clear, you should be able to do that. If
perspective.
The earth is flat.
And if the sky is clear enough, and later on, in terms of physical evidence, they'll talk about that.
Right.
But yeah, that would be, if the earth is flat and you got any kind of tall thing here, you should be able to see it.
Right. But this is a dream, people.
This is a dream.
Not reality.
Now, a little better is in Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 11. You have the temptation of Jesus, and one of the temptations he's taken up to us as a high mountain, and he sees all the kingdoms of the world. And they say, only from a flat earth could you see all the kingdoms of the world from a tall mountain. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Where is that mountain?
Right.
Does it not exist anymore? What happened to it?
So your book is wrong.
We ought to be able to see it, or we can go to it. I don't think that mountain really exists in that situation.
Yeah.
Furthermore, they avoid the parallel passage of Luke.
Well, he's not going to explain why he doesn't think that is.
But at the same time, so you'd be like, okay, so Jesus did not return to look over his kingdom. If that's not true, if there's no mountain he could stand on to do that from, obviously it didn't happen.
He's clearly saying that at least that part of the book is bullshit.
Or his allegory that, he led him to somewhere where he's like, oh, look, you could have this, and this is a temptation.
But if he said a mountain, then it had to be a mountain.
I don't know.
If he would have said, from the heavens, that's totally different. But he said from a mountain.
Luke 4, verses 1 through 13. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't say mountain, it says a high place. In fact, the terminology used there, read my article if you want to read more about that, suggests that instead of being a literal mountain, of being shown literally all the kingdoms,
it was a high place. It's an opium den.
It's talking about all the kingdoms throughout the ages, and it's a vision sort of thing that's being offered to Jesus there, not a literal mountain and not a literal view from such a literal mountain. One of the biggies out there you see frequently is the firmament, or I prefer to use the Hebrew word rakia.
So cultured with your Hebrew words for it.
Yeah, that didn't sound pretentious at all. Or I prefer the word rachia.
Well, see, and he's making these arguments from a place of logic where we've proven that the earth is round.
Yeah. That's all the logic.
Back in the day, he would have gone with whatever the Bible said because we didn't have the information that we have now.
Yeah, he's working backward because anyone in a rational world would be dumb to deny a round earth. We already know that. Yeah, but your Bible did not know that. And I bet you anything it did think the world was flat.
But at the same time, you'd be dumb to say that humans live with dinosaurs and they'll still fucking cover and stand behind that shit.
Mm-hmm.
The word only appears 17 times. And over the last 2 years, I've written extensively on this. A chapter in a book I published last year, also an article I published last year on our Answers Research Journal.
And I just had someone ask me about that the other day. Like, well, what exactly is the firmament? Like on day 2. And I'm like, we've got some great articles on our website that talk about that because it's not necessarily an easy
it's nothing. It's bullshit.
To answer. And so you really have to look at that.
And the firmament is a result of a lot of bad translations going back to Septuagint in like the 3rd century BC. They translated the Hebrew Old Testament into the Greek, and they translated it stereoma, which is this solid structure in which the stars were affixed. We call it the celestial sphere today, though I don't think it's a real sphere. It's just the model we use. But the point is, it's not a vaulted dome. It's a complete sphere going around. I figure what people have done when I've had people throw these verses up to me. I see them on numerous sites out there saying the firmament that has to be a dome. No, it isn't. If you look at the history of it.
He's not arguing that they're incorrect, saying there's a firmament with the stars affixed to it. He's saying no, it's not a dome, it's a complete sphere.
Yeah,
jackasses.
They got the shape wrong. That's what they got wrong about it. He's also admitting that the translations of the Bible are bad.
Yeah, but still the thing is no matter what the translation is, either it's the firmament or it's the Fukushima or it's the Gabawabi, whatever they want to call the thing, it's still the thing with the stars affixed to it.
Without the firmament.
It's a celestial sphere, okay, Ryan?
Yeah, without the firmament, where the fuck does this guy think heaven is? Where is heaven and where is hell? The model of a flat earth was used to describe where heaven is and where hell is.
Yeah.
Hell is below us. It's in Sheol underneath the flat earth that we all live on. Heaven is above the firmament.
Mm-hmm.
When Jesus rises from the dead and is exalted into heaven, he rises into the air and goes into heaven.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, they didn't want people floating around in balloons or using aircraft because they might fucking bump into Jesus up in the sky. And now this guy, like, if he doesn't
that would
believe
be so embarrassing.
Oh, sorry, Jesus.
Sorry, bro.
My bad.
You got a beer?
But where the fuck does he think heaven is? Where do Christians think heaven is?
Well, I think they have to keep thinking it's pushed further back and further back. See, now coming from a flat earther's point of view, heaven's just right there. It's right above the firmament.
Right.
But if you don't believe the flat earth and you believe there is a solar system, all like reality, you got to keep pushing heaven back beyond what we can see with our technology.
And above doesn't make sense.
No,
anymore.
It doesn't make sense above because
so it's somewhere.
It's like if you died at the wrong time of day, it's like, oh wait, heaven's the other way.
Yeah. I mean, heaven just keeps retreating. But where do modern Christians think it is? Like, it has to be a physical place, right?
Yeah.
Where the fuck is it?
Does it?
Well, it's beyond the edges of the universe now, probably.
Does it have to be a spiritual place?
A physical.
I mean, a physical place? It can't just be spiritual realm?
Well,
what is that though?
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
Is that like, do they think it's a different dimension? Do they?
I bet some do. I don't know.
I have never really heard them talk about a different dimension. I've always thought it's like it's just out there. The heavens are.
When they talk about ghosts, they sure do talk about another dimension.
Because
I've heard different things on that one.
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago at the Provo Pride Festival,
I've heard it both ways.
I had, we're manning the Atheists of Utah booth, and we have a section
and womaning it.
It's we're personing the booth, and we've got a double booth, so it's 10 by 10 space times 2, so 10 by 20. We've got on one side of it is where we sell all of our merchandise, and on the other side we set up the booth as an Ask an Atheist area, so anybody can just wander by and ask us whatever questions they have. And this Christian woman stopped by and was talking to me and asking questions and was there with her mother. And the Christian lady was like, well, yeah, I'm a follower of Christ and I believe in heaven and Jesus and an afterlife and this and that. And I was like, well, where is that? where do you go when you die? And she said, well, I go to heaven. And I said, well, where is heaven? Well, it's above us and all around us. And I'm like, all around us? What does that mean?
That doesn't make sense.
And I just kept asking her questions, and she started fumbling, and then she got, you could tell she was not.
Was she getting a little frustrated
enjoying
with
my line of questioning? And her mom was just like, come on, we gotta go. Like tugging on her shirt. Come on. Let's go somewhere else. Come on. You don't want to think about this too much. Let's just leave.
He's making you be critical.
And what the language is, as I have, you'll find out that that's not what it means at all. And consequently, people that want to interpret it that way, what they do is they interpret the firmament, when they read that in the King James, in terms of a domed or vault over the earth. And then they turn around and use that as proof that the Bible is flat earth. Well, you've just interpreted the scripture in terms of what model you want, and then you try to use that to turn around and prove your model.
Yeah.
And that's
who else does that?
Yeah, I wonder.
It really is. So that's not what it says at all. I am thoroughly convinced. Here's another one from 1 Samuel 2:8. It talks about the earth resting on pillars. And you'll get some people out there. Again, these diagrams were done by the skeptics in the late 19th, early 20th century. You got this flat earth, a dome, and pillars underneath. They say, this is the biblical cosmology.
Yes, it is.
Folks, these diagrams were done originally by liberals, by atheists, by agnostics.
Liberals weren't around yet, really.
Yeah, they made a picture of what is described in your fucking book.
Yeah, and because they're skeptics, they did it accurately.
Yeah.
And pointed out, how ridiculous does this look? This is what your book describes. This is what you guys should be believing. This is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a little snow globe on a couple of legs.
Trying to discredit Scripture. Furthermore, if the earth is resting on pillars, that doesn't square very well with Job 26:7, which says God hangs the earth upon nothing.
Oh, okay. So it's not standing, it's hanging.
It's dangling.
Yeah, your book is full of contradictions?
And not only is it hanging, it's hanging upon nothing. Oh, there's a fucking sensical statement. Why, if it can just hang there on nothing, why hang it? Why not just place it there? Why? What? I don't understand the point of that.
Yeah.
Let's put a hook on it because we don't need to.
Well, which is it? Does it not have anything supporting it, or does it have pillars supporting it?
You tell me!
Furthermore, we're told
It's
elsewhere
in your
the New
book,
Testament
dude.
that good men, including especially the leaders of the church, are pillars. Doesn't say they're like pillars, it says they are pillars. I've not seen a deacon or elder yet that was made out of limestone or something, It's obviously a
so
symbolic
silly.
use.
It's so silly.
And finally, one last one I'll mention. And this is intersects with the geocentrist, and a person who is a flat earther is also a geocentrist, but the reverse is not necessarily true. And they argue from several passages, such as 1 Chronicles 16:30, Psalm 93:1, and 90.
Whoever's doing their camera work is like, I'm going to shift it a half an inch to the right. No, a half an inch to a quarter inch to the right. No.
Yeah. Don't move it. And also, your audio isn't synced.
Yeah.
26:10, that the earth is said to be immovable. So if it's immovable, it just sits here. It doesn't move at all. And of course, if the earth is spinning and orbiting around the sun, it's moving. And so consequently, that is contrary to Scripture.
Yeah, the science disproves it.
Wait a minute. In 1 Corinthians 15:58, the Apostle Paul exhorts us to be steadfast, immovable. So folks, unless you're still laying in bed from when you got up this morning or didn't get up, you just woke up this morning, then you have violated God's clearly stated intention for your life to be immovable.
Oh, man.
He's stretching there.
Clearly, that immovable that Paul talked about was not talking about geographically sitting still. Right. It's talking about not being moved from our faith and our practice and our belief. But also consider, that's also New Testament, I understand, but look at Psalm 16:8, the same word that used to describe the immovable earth, David refers to himself because God is his right hand. I will be immovable, he says. So obviously David never moved. He sat still. Well, that's clearly not the case either. So it turns out the meaning of that Hebrew word is not to vary from your prepared course. Course implies emotion. Right. So is the earth immovable in that sense? Yes, it doesn't veer from the course it's moving on. It's not chaotic. It's not random. It has a stayed course that God has ordained for it. That is a reality.
God tells the earth in which direction to move and where. And sure.
The situation on these things. It's not I go through these passages and I just have to kind of chuckle, roll my eyes that people are taking these many times out of context, not reading them in context. Is even more
a classic
that's the same thing we do with everything they say.
And not realizing just what these words actually mean.
Well, there's some people, and again, like we said before, some people are like, oh,
we don't need to hear
just
from her.
A woman talking. We can cut her off.
Yeah,
that's the end of the video.
Oh, and by the way, we
us.
didn't cut her off. They cut her off.
Yeah, that's the end of their video. Well, she's talking again. Let's just stop it.
Man. Also, in one of the 10 pictures in his permanent background, he's got the Archaeopteryx fossil. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that
guy's he's
well, he just proved the Bible wrong on his own.
What he is he's less of a he's not in it for serious discussion or debate. He's a snake oil salesman type. He's slippery and he's like, twisted around a little bit and says it really confidently. And then
whenever the facts contradict his book, then he has to accept those facts and then shoehorn in the rest of the bullshit that he wants to believe.
Yeah.
And this is one of those facts that's like, well, obviously the earth is round. And obviously these people are giving Christians a bad name by saying it's flat. So we need to disprove that. But all the other parts of the Bible, like the flood.
Well, the
Adam
thing
and
is,
Eve.
but he spends, 10 minutes bringing up examples that make his book look worse and worse and worse, just to disprove this one little thing about the flat earthers, which he didn't even do. He brought up a bunch of stuff that supported it, and then said, I don't think that's what it is because I don't think so.
Which is what the flat earthers do.
Here's 3 more verses that prove that it's on pillars and it's hanging from a hook. Yeah, it's like so.
I don't think that's it because I don't think so.
Yeah. And where did this mountain go? Maybe it never existed.
Hey, this is Mark Nebo, the founder of the Normalized Atheism Campaign, and you are listening to the Godless Revolution.
What does that mean? Bukkake? Oh, just means a lot of things are happening and you're feeling overwhelmed. Yeah.
I've felt bukkake before.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
So every so often, somebody will ask me a question about point of theological discussion they're having with somebody. Either they're debating with a relative or a friend about a particular point in that person's theology or in biblical teaching, Christianity, whatever. And, they'll post it in a group I'm in, or they'll send me a message, or they'll post it on my timeline. And so I try to help them out with questions or my thoughts on it. And somebody had posted in the Utah Atheists group recently, and they said, I've been talking to my aunt about atheism. She is a true believing Mormon. She insists that genocide, slavery, sexual slavery, famine, etc., are not God's fault because he gave us all free will. Therefore, according to her, some of us are victims of the poor choices made by others. How would you respond to this?
Oh, I would say if God gave you free will, then he did cause that to happen. He let you be a shitty person to someone else.
Well, and some of us are just victims of those people.
Yeah.
I'm like,
where that's still a shitty God.
Well, and so I responded and I said, would she stand by and allow her children to be a victim of someone else's bad choices? Would she sit in a rocking chair in the corner of her room while one of her children were being raped?
Yeah.
And the person who had posted who had made the post originally said, no, she most definitely wouldn't. And I thought, okay, well, then that kind of proves the point that if God just sits back and doesn't do anything about it, then he's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Well, not just kind of a dick. He's a giant dick.
And he's watching this happen.
Well, it's not just as a spectator. He orchestrated it.
Mm-hmm.
He has pre-knowledge of all this stuff when he designed those individuals and put all the other people in their lives that would sway their perception of reality and put them in positions where they're going to become a rapist. And then he knows when they're going to intersect with, the person in question here.
With their victim,
With the victim and begin that crime. So he's completely at fault, even if that person chose freely to commit that crime.
Yeah.
He's still totally culpable morally.
Free will definitely does not jive with God.
Yeah.
It's hard deterministic there, definitely.
Well, and I think it was Tracy Harris. So the next comment I made was, and it's something similar to what I've heard Tracy Harris say before. And I just commented and I said, I'm better than her God, because if I had the choice, or if I had the chance to stop someone from being raped and murdered, I would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her God doesn't. And my last comment on there, was, oh, no, she commented again and said, a second question I have would be, how do you counter the Mormon belief that in the pre-existence we asked God to test us? Therefore, he's testing us and allowing us our free will as part of the test. And then she tagged me in a comment and said, have you ever been asked to address this? And I said, I've never heard of this belief before. Does she think mere human spirits know better than her God? Like we would tell God, no, you have to test us, motherfucker. Send us down on earth and put us to the test. Don't just let us be happy. You need to test us by throwing shitty stuff at us all the time. We're asking you to please do this.
It's like God developing a sign countersign. If you give the right countersign to his sign, you go to heaven. If you fuck up that countersign, you're going straight to hell.
Well, yeah, but that's just it. I mean, God had a plan, and we're like, no, you need to test us.
Yeah, and is he powerless or idiotic? Because he either
like, okay, I'll do
either
that.
Can't do it, or he's looking at all these bad possibilities that are definitely going to happen and saying, well, if that's what you want,
yeah,
you have no idea, and I'm not going to let you know, but that's what I'll give you then.
Yeah, so my comment was, does she think mere human spirits know better than her God? That we can command him to do things, that he doesn't have a master plan? And she said, this was taught to me in church growing up. And I said, and then I thought about it a bit more and I thought, oh, okay, I think I see what's going on here. And my comment was, she's twisting around some fundamental teachings. The war in heaven was fought because Lucifer wanted a world that was where there was no suffering. Jesus argued that we needed suffering and free will, those who fought valiantly, blah, blah, blah. It's this it's the whole LDS teaching of the pre-existence and the war in heaven and all of that. And I said, and I put the blah, blah, blah because it's a longish story that I didn't want to have to fucking type out on my phone while I was pooping. That's when I was sending my reply to her. And I'm like, I'm not at a computer and this is just a long story. So blah, blah, blah. That's the whole, you all should know what I'm talking about if you're a former Mormon kind of thing.
Well, I would have added in there, blah, 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 I'm pooping. Everyone would have understood why you stopped the story.
Well, then she said, thanks for the talking points. And I thought, oh, you're very welcome. No big deal. But it inspired me. It got me thinking about it more. And I thought, I'll bet that a lot of people out there who are not Mormon or were never Mormon don't know a lot of the LDS teachings around all of this. So, and then I thought, well, while I was doing that, one of the major happy little sayings that Mormons have is that families are forever.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, no, according to Mormon theology, Jesus and Satan were brothers.
Yep.
And they were like God's first children, and even they didn't stay together. So, the whole families are forever thing has been bullshit from the very beginning. But so I typed this thing out on Facebook, and it just says, Happy Sunday. That's a thing I used to do all the time. Every Sunday I would post a little theological thing about something about religion that was total bullshit, just to make people think about it on a Sunday. But I typed out, Happy Sunday. Mormon theology teaches that Jesus and Lucifer are the two oldest sons. Jesus is the firstborn son, of course, but not physically. We're talking about spirit babies here, of Heavenly Father. That's God / Yahweh / Elohim / the Alpha and Omega, etc. for you non-Mormon people. In the premortal existence, these brothers, Jesus and Lucifer, had a disagreement about whether humans should be granted free agency on earth. See, the way it worked, and this isn't in my post, but the way it worked is God called a meeting. In the pre-existence, he called a meeting and he said, this is my plan. What do you guys think? And his plan was that basically he would allow free will and there would be suffering and death for everybody that was born on earth. And Lucifer was like, well, that's a shitty plan.
It's like you're designing a car that's going to break down the first week.
Why the hell would you do that? Why would you why would you send everybody to be tortured basically through suffering and then die? Like, what's the whole point of this exercise? You're birthing spirit babies up here to be sent down there to be tortured and then to die to come back up here. What the fuck is the whole point of this deal? That's why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just allow them to be happy? Why do you have to have suffering?
Why would you even send them to the suffering place in the first place?
Yeah, why would you have suffering and then why would they have to die? Why do that? Why are we going through this whole exercise?
Just keep them here.
Yeah. And Jesus was just like, no, I think that's a great idea, Dad.
Because he was a fucking brown-nosed dickbag.
Well, so the other part of God's plan was that people are going to have to suffer and they're going to die. So we need somebody who will go down there and we can sacrifice that person to wash away the sins of everybody. And then things will be solved and people can get into heaven.
Yeah, this problem I've caused will be rectified.
Yeah.
But you still have the suffering.
Yeah. And Jesus was like, I'll do it. I guess, if somebody's got to torture to save if somebody's got to be tortured and die to wash away the sins of everybody else, I guess, I'll do that. Sure.
And
that sounds like a good plan, Dad.
Yeah, Jesus' knee pads were already worn out from sucking his dad's dick, so he had to go somewhere.
Yeah, he has a similar relationship to you and Dan Morris.
Oh, you motherfucker. Demotion. De-fucking motion.
He's got to go and find the sound now.
I actually have the sound saved in my phone.
I know you do, because you played it another time. I can't believe you're still loyal to those murdering bastards.
I don't call it loyal.
You're beneath them.
It's a part of an international agency.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just in the agency.
Uh-huh.
Agent demoted.
But part of the reason...
Done. It's official now. You're demoted.
I could not...
You're fucking demoted.
I cannot express how little I care.
Well, you should.
So the reason why they didn't want to go with Satan's plan, this is Jesus and Daddy God, is because Satan said, yeah, well, let's do my plan and everyone will be fine and saved and happy, but I get the glory. And they're like, no. And the thing that they think makes Jesus the superhero in this thing is that he said he'll go with Daddy God's plan and he'll give the glory to Daddy God. Bull fucking shit if he did that. Bull fucking shit if he didn't know that he was going to be prayed to for all time and eternity. He got all of the glory. They're called Christians. They're not Yahwehites.
Yahwehnites.
He got every bit of it. So both of their plans are exactly the same, except Jesus said, no, I think they should go get killed and be tortured and have a terrible life. And Satan said, no, I don't think that they should. That's how it boils down.
Yes.
And Jesus is the good guy.
Oh, of course he is. Well, he's the firstborn. He's the golden child. But in the premortal existence, the brothers had a disagreement. This is reading from my post again about whether humans should be granted free agency on Earth. God's plan was that everyone would sin and everyone would die. His plan was so terrible from the get-go that he needed someone to be the savior of everybody else who God created to sin and die. Jesus offered himself up for sacrifice because reasons. Lucifer thought God's plan was cruel. Why allow everybody to suffer in sin and die, and why have a scapegoat die to remove all of those sins? Couldn't the sins be forgiven without sacrifice, or not allowed to be committed in the first place? Anyway, Lucifer thought God's plan was evil, so he chose to rebel against him. And he took a third of the host of heaven, so a third of his other siblings, the other angels, whatever that were in heaven, and they started a war. This started what is known to Mormons as the War in Heaven. So Lucifer and his minions ultimately lost the war and were banished to, and I wrote hell because that's what most Christians would understand, but in Mormon theology, it's actually outer darkness.
Yeah.
Those who fought for Jesus, but not very valiantly, are now born with black skin. Talk about institutionalized racism. While those who fought valiantly on Jesus' side are born as white as the driven snow into a loving Mormon family. A loving Mormon family.
Those Mormon families.
So even if you fought for Jesus, but not very valiantly, because you didn't fight valiantly, you weren't sent to outer darkness, but now you have outer darkness of your skin.
Yeah.
Because you didn't fight valiantly. You are cursed with black skin.
But see, that just speaks to the charity of God, because he still gave them a chance. He was so gracious that even though they weren't as loyal to him as Ryan is to Dan Morris, they still got a chance.
And then I just said,
Agent demoted.
oh, that's twice in one show.
And promoted.
No,
and promoted.
I can't get it to just play one clip at a time, so I got to hit pause really quick.
I think you're demoted for not demoting me properly. That was very unprofessional.
You guys should see the look on Ryan's face.
The mustache makes it intense.
He looks like a serial killer.
That's intense.
Camping is intense.
And then I just capped off the post with, there's a whole lot more to the story, but I've basically written this up to deliver the punchline that the Mormon saying of families are forever has been bullshit since the very first family and first two sons ever created.
Yeah, which is an interesting point I hadn't even considered before, but yeah, he's a terrible single dad. God.
Well, he's not even a single dad.
No, not Mormon theology. But.
Yeah, he has, there's such a thing as Heavenly Mother. Well, there's Heavenly Mothers, but they only ever really refer to Heavenly Mother.
Yeah.
Yahweh was doing a lot of fucking.
Yeah.
Still is.
He has a lot of concubines. He has a lot of spirit concubines. Pumping out spirit babies for him.
Mm-hmm. Ghost whores.
But it was funny because, so I wrote all that out, and one of my friends commented and said, heads up, Dan, on a typo. Those who fought on Lucifer's side were born black. My favorite cousin converted to Mormonism when she was 16 and I was 14. She told me these stories as a new convert, which means with missionary zeal. I was horrified. She tried her best to convert me, but it went exactly nowhere. And I replied and said, nope, not a typo. Those who fought on Lucifer's side were cast into outer darkness with him. Those who fought on Jesus' side but not valiantly enough.
That's what I have always learned too.
Are cursed with black skin and are born here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it's used as a way to soften racism within the LDS church. It boils down to, black people aren't bad people. They're just not as good as we are.
They're not good fighters.
They're just lazy.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of Mormon theology for all of you that I think not a lot of people know.
They do try to keep that a little quieter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not one of the first teachings that missionaries come and
it's not ever
deliver.
A teaching.
Yeah.
You know what, Dan?
No.
That was an excellent write-up.
Agent promoted.
Yay! Do I get a badge yet or a gold star or anything?
You have to ask them. I don't do the gift giving.
Oh, he's not taking responsibility again.
I take as much responsibility as I'm given. No more, no less.
I take as much responsibility as my overlords will allow, Matt.
Yeah, right. Oh, man, you are a military guy.
Yes, sir.
Hi, this is Yvette Doncherma, aka the Cybabe, and you're listening to Godless Revolution. You can find me at cybabe.com, at my Twitter account at the Cybabe, and if you've hunt really hard, you can find me at Pornhub. I dare you.
Boy, I tell you, I don't know what's going on.
I'm lost.
I'm overwhelmed.
Me too.
There's bukkake floating all around me.
What? What's bukkake?
Oh, it's Laird told me it means when you're overwhelmed and you got too much going on.
Oh my gosh.
Can't figure things out.
Well, that's like drowning in bukkake at this point.
Okay, I'm gonna be real with you guys. It means jizz on your face.
I'm sorry?
Bukkake means covered in jizz. Tons of jizz, ejaculate. Usually after a gangbang.
Not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, post gangbang. Or during, depends if someone finishes early.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrevolution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
Got some science for you.
Science, bitches.
HIV and AIDS has been around for a while now.
Yeah.
It's managed pretty well now. People who have who have HIV
people who have HIV
are not necessarily condemned to death
like they were
these days,
in,
right?
like the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, if you had HIV,
it wasn't
you're gonna die.
Good sign, yeah.
Yeah, and it won't be a very long time before your death either.
Well, because is it? If I'm getting it right, you get HIV, then it's full blown AIDS. So HIV is like the less, like,
HIV
it's like the precursor
will
to
turn into
AIDS.
Yeah.
Why'd we have to go fucking those monkeys?
Hey, maybe we were monkey raped.
Bonobos go crazy. Bonobos ain't known to not rape. Bonobos rape. That's just a fact.
I'm pretty sure all primates do.
Yeah, but bonobos especially. You ever seen a pack of...
Humans also rape a lot.
You ever seen a pack of bonobos?
A lot.
Bonobos just fuck all day.
Is it a pack or is it a troop?
Oh, I'm calling it a pack.
What is it? What is a plural for a monkey?
I don't know.
Well, chimps.
Was it a family?
Chimps are troops.
Troops?
Are they?
Baboons are troops, I think, too.
Huh?
Like militarized.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want the baboon plural thing or group name to be like a boop.
A boop.
A boop of baboons.
Yeah.
A boop of baboons.
That's the
a boop of baboons.
It's a boop. Look at all those baboons in their boop.
Boop of baboons.
But recently, it was discovered that a 9-year-old has been in HIV remission for years without drugs. So without any of the...
Wait, isn't baboons at Congress? I think it is.
Oh, is it?
I think it is.
Ah, that's why our Congress can't get shit done.
Bunch of fucking baboons in Washington.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
You're fine.
You're fine. But this 9-year-old kid has never received, or has he's gone into remission without drugs. I believe he may have been treated early on,
given like a dosage when he was born or something, like known.
Right.
Okay, this
but
child
but
is going to be
nothing
born
since then. We have a video here, but I want to read through the story as well because I think this video probably doesn't cover all of the information in there.
The 9th Annual International AIDS Society Conference kicked off Sunday in Paris. The 4-day conference brings together more than 6,000 HIV professionals. According to the United Nations, some 37 million people are living with HIV globally. And as of 2016, about half of them had access to treatment. One bit of promising news from the conference? A 9-year-old South African treated with antivirals.
How disgusting is that just over half of the people who have HIV have access to the life-saving medicine for it?
And the reason why that is because so many of them are in rural, impoverished areas of the world that we just don't give a fuck about.
And the funny thing, too, I mean, funny is maybe not the right word.
Funny, peculiar, funny, sad.
Yeah, you would think if you were going to guess, like, well, okay, where are the most people that have AIDS, you know, have readily access to the healthcare? You would say, oh, well, definitely the U.S. Nope. And we have, you know, at least half of the country trying to take what little we have away.
Yeah.
Even still. So, you know.
Well, then you have the other issues in some of these nations where they have large HIV epidemics, where they still won't teach them how to properly have safe sex.
Right.
About condoms and about, hey, this is how this disease is
and a
spread.
lot of that is because of the Catholic fucking church.
Exactly.
Who won't allow people to use condoms.
Or like Mother Teresa using dirty needles on people they knew that had AIDS.
Uh-huh. Yay. Fuck. She's a greasy
She's not a
turd.
saint.
No.
Frickin' Packy. I just learned that word today.
As an infant, but not since, has been in remission until now, 8.5 years according to the National Institutes of Health.
So the child was first diagnosed at 30 days of age and then commenced treatment on three-drug therapy at 8.5 weeks, was on treatment for about 40 weeks, and then treatment was interrupted. And the child has had undetectable viral load for the duration right up until now.
Scientists believe other factors may have contributed to the child's remission, but they say this case, and 2 others like it, one in the US and one in France, may provide insight into how treating babies early could prevent them from having to take HIV drugs for their whole lives. These cases may even lead to new treatments for the virus. It's too soon to tell, but scientists are hopeful.
This patient definitely gives hope. I mean, we sort of as scientists are extremely excited by this case. And I think the challenge is to try to pin down exactly what were the events that led to this in this child and what it is that's very special about this case.
There is no cure or vaccine for HIV yet, but the scientists in Paris are working hard to find one. Cyril Vanier, CNN.
Well, I wonder if it has anything to do with when the
Isn't
child
that cool?
is. Yeah, that is really cool. And I was almost wondering if it has something to do with, an infant's immune system, because they're still developing an immune system when they're that young. And I wonder if introducing the vaccine in there to boost a part of their immune system.
Oh, we don't want to give them the autisms.
Well, but to boost part of their immune system to recognize the HIV virus and to actually go after it when their immune system is developing gives it a stronger chance to actually
Does it work
defeat
that
it.
way? I don't know.
That's what they didn't really go through and explain unless it says it more in the article. But I was wondering if it does have something more to do with it being a younger infant and their immune system is still developing at that young age versus an adult where your immune system is usually fully developed and it can adapt to new viruses, but still.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, though. The story reads that a 9-year-old South African child, and I wanted that doctor to say, diplomatic immunity. But a 9-year-old South African child diagnosed with HIV when he was 1 month old has been in HIV remission for 8.5 years without regular treatment. Soon after diagnosis, the child was placed on antiretroviral treatment, or ART, for 40 weeks, at which point treatment was stopped and the child's health was monitored. Going through the rest of the story here, says that there's no cure or vaccine against HIV, and lifelong treatment for children comes with the risk of potential toxicity, side effects, and the need for daily adherence, which becomes harder during the teen years. Because we all know how regimented and trustworthy and on task and schedule those teens are.
Well, I would disagree with that. If you start off a medication at a very young age, like if you're born with diabetes and you have to give yourself an injection, usually someone that's lived with it a long time remembers to be on task with it versus... Now, if you were a teenager and said, hey, by the way, you need to take this medication every day, then they're probably going to fuck up.
Having a teenager, I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah. Well, it says that the child who was not identified was part of a study known as the Children with HIV Early Antiretroviral Therapy, or SHARE trial.
Okay, I'm like, because that's a long name.
Which ran from 2005 to 2011. More than 370 infants were infected. I'm sorry. They were not infected with it.
Well, they have to give them the AIDS.
They didn't give them the AIDS. But it says that more than 370 infants who were infected with HIV were randomly assigned to immediately receive ART for either 40 weeks or 96 weeks. A third group were not placed on immediate treatment, but instead received treatment according to standard guidelines at the time. When the trial began, standard treatment was based on the level of immune cells damaged by the virus, known as CD4 cells, within the body. Current guidelines recommend immediate treatment irrespective of CD4 cell count. So they've since changed the standard guidelines for that.
Fight it before it gets bad. It's like, we're going to wait till the boat's almost full of water till we start pumping the water out.
In infants infected with HIV close to birth, progression of the disease occurs very rapidly within the first few months of life and can often lead to death, according to the World Health Organization. An estimated 110,000 children died of AIDS-related illnesses in 2015. 110,000 children died of AIDS in 2015.
Of nothing they did of their own.
I'm sorry,
they
Dan.
didn't.
I just think dead children is so hilarious. No.
You sick fuck.
You just misspoke a little, and it was funny to me.
What did I say?
I think you said dieds of AIDS.
Dieds of AIDS?
I think so.
Pediatricians also, but 110,000 kids in 1 year.
Yeah.
Died of AIDS-related illnesses.
That's even bigger than...
Thanks, Jesus.
That's even bigger than the two skeptical chaps' numbers. Of
the people who are dead now because of them?
Yeah.
Pediatricians also worry about the side effects and health impacts of lifelong treatment with antiretroviral drugs for those who survive. They may get the autisms, we don't know.
The autismus.
More than 1.8 million children were living with HIV in 2005, according to UNAIDS, and 150,000 children became newly infected.
That should definitely be UNAIDS. They're out un-AIDSing everybody, aren't they?
The majority of which were in Africa. Yes, they're trying to, yeah. The SHARE trial set out to investigate whether mortality rates could be reduced, but also whether earlier treatment could keep children healthy enough to enable them to come off treatment for certain periods. We were hoping to make it a slower progressing disease, said Dr. Violari. The study found mortality decreased by 76% and HIV disease progression reduced by 75% among the infants who received treatment immediately for 40 or 96 weeks. The group receiving standard treatment saw an increase in mortality based on interim results, so that arm of the trial was stopped early. Like, kids are dying, maybe we shouldn't not give them treatment.
Yeah, like that's not working.
Children receiving early treatment in the trial needed to go back onto it on average after 2 years, the doctor said, with cases ranging from needing it immediately to needing it after 4 years. An estimated 10 children have not had to go back on treatment as their viral loads are very low, between 1,000 to 3,000 per milliliter of blood, meaning they're healthy in clinical terms. But virus levels in the 9-year-old case are undetectable.
That's crazy.
This child is the only child showing remission. We cannot see this virus in the blood using standard techniques. We can see fragments of the virus in the cells, adding that those fragments appear not to be able to replicate for now, giving hope the child may stay this way. Apparently this child is very unique.
You know what the problem here is? They're going to kill the kid.
We've got to kill him to save the others.
Yep, they're going to kill him. They're going to, well, maybe not kill him. They're just going to strap him to a machine and harvest his blood to figure out a cure.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's the only way.
It's the Illuminati.
It's the only way it would possibly work.
Kid's going to go missing. That's why they didn't give a name. Kid's probably missing right now. Mom's like, where'd he go? They're like, oh, he went fishing. He'll be back. Never.
I mean, I don't know where he is.
Either do I. He's fucking missing.
Yeah, he must be gone.
Fuck, we need to ask Alex Jones what's going on.
Maybe he's just at his art class or whatever they're doing.
Well, the doctor says that this new remission case is not applicable to all infants with HIV, but instead that something unique about his biology and immune system helped him protect himself from the virus, aided by starting early treatment. He developed an effective immune response to the virus early on, and treatment then protected the child. I think the early treatment aided it, the doctor said. Her team now hopes to investigate the child and others from the original SHARE trial, along with HIV-negative children, to try to elucidate just what is unique about the biology enabling a child who has been treated to then suppress the virus indefinitely and independently, known as a post-treatment controller. She said that they need to find out where the differences lie and that insight could be used to inform vaccine design or new treatment approaches, such as the use of neutralizing antibodies to help people suppress the virus.
Imagine how confused those AIDS must have been. Like, what the fuck is this?
Like, I'm trying to help them,
human
but
cells don't fight back.
But yeah, they're hoping that by studying this kid, they'll be able to figure out why his body was able to fight off the disease.
Kid lives in a part of Africa where AIDS is rampant. Could he have developed a certain genetic mutation?
Nope, he was created that way.
Perhaps a bit of something within this child evolved,
like an evolutionary trait, that's fighting against the AIDS, since there's been so many generations of people in that area that have had issues with that disease.
Yes.
Maybe he's a biological abnormality with an evolutionary trait in him. We don't know. I mean, but that's just that. When has that happened? That stuff doesn't happen.
Outside pressures could have influenced this
his DNA structure to make a mutation to fight against another source in the community, but that never happens in our genetics.
And that perhaps without outside intervention, such forces would self-select that person would then go on to have other offspring that were selected for this particular trait that allowed them to live longer.
Yeah. And be able to have the disease not affect them in the same way it affects other people's without that certain genetic mutation.
That seems very strange.
I know, but
I've never heard of such a
I mean,
process.
I'm talking.
Are you a flat earther too now?
Yeah,
What's going to be next?
I'm talking science fiction here. We all know that this stuff just has never happened. It won't. It doesn't happen. I mean, it's all hogwash.
We had a bunch of other news that we were thinking about covering tonight, but we did some stuff earlier, and we wanted to make this a little bit shorter show so that it would be easier to edit.
It's a holiday show.
Available for you people, and it's a holiday today, so we're all skipping time with family to spend it with you.
Yeah, I actually really am.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's very kind of you. Well, I am too.
Oh my God, you should have seen the fucking traffic I was in too, you guys.
Oh yeah. Oh, everybody heading out to the fucking fireworks show.
Well, actually,
and some fucking idiot wrecked. They had to fucking wreck their car.
Northbound lane was full of wrecks. I was in the southbound lane like, wow, there's no traffic leaving Salt Lake today.
Yeah.
Took me 40 minutes to get to the highway, to get onto the on-ramp.
Oh man.
That sucks.
I'm very glad that I don't live in Utah County.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing appealing about living down there.
I live there, man.
Well, okay.
No, I agree with you.
Maybe there's one little thing.
I definitely agree. Better than London. Actually, it's probably not.
Before we sign off tonight, I want to make sure that we thank all of our Patreon supporters.
Because we love every single one of you, and we greatly appreciate your contributions.
Absolutely. Including, though maybe not as much as everybody else, Dr. Dan, Matt's boss from the 2SE podcast, to whom we pledge loyalty.
To whom we will pledge loyalty for a slightly more substantial Patreon donation.
Yeah, that guy's a doctor, right? Come on.
Yeah, what is he doing? Where are all his euros going?
Well, there's Brexit happening.
Brexit fucked him over. So, I mean, his donation, that's actually like 3 times the size over here in the U.S.
Well, they shouldn't have voted for it.
I also want to thank Janet Uter, Stephen Andrus, Mo Cowbell, Jefferson Montoya, Christy Kalbach, Andrew Vodopich, Let Them Eat Kofefe, Wes Aaron, Utah Outcasts, Andy Faulkner, Angelica Pearson, Jeremy Goodson, Brandy Hamrick, Alicia Gerhard, Taylor Grin, Grant Larimer, Savadakuna, and the Gaytheist, Mr. Aaron Burton. And I talked with Grant over the weekend.
Yeah.
At our friend's party for Pie and Beer Day, and he confirmed that he is the real Purple Dragon.
Okay.
I explained to him that there was some speculation among the three of us that maybe it wasn't, that maybe somebody else thought they were the real Purple Dragon.
Okay.
And were taking offense to us referring to Grant as the Purple Dragon, but he said that no, that was him and his review. So.
Okay.
So thank you all very much to everybody who's been sending in those reviews.
Yeah, very, very much, yes.
Grant still doesn't qualify because he didn't send us an email.
Rules.
Rules. Arbitrary rules. But by the time you hear this, for most people who are not Patreon patrons, you will have a very short amount of time to get in your review and send it in to us, because when we record next week, we will be holding the drawing for the fabulous prizes. So hopefully you have sent us in your review and will be placed into the pool of drawing for that fabulous prize or prizes. So that's all I've got. Until next week, be sure that you crucify that like button.
Leave a review to achieve nirvana.
And rate the show 5 times a day toward Mecca. I just saw it again the other day, and I was like, oh, fuck, I love this video.
You're a weirdo.
Why, you didn't like that new verse I added for it? Well, I got an actual real serious question for you guys now, though.
What?
If
I don't think you really do.
It is. You can hear by the tone of my voice. This is a serious question.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we have the vampires that are sucking blood from children, and they're also pedophiles. Where exactly are they sucking that blood from?
They come disguised as moils and suck it from the penises.
Exactly what I was thinking. You don't see Chick-fil-A giving out Happy Satan meals.
Michele Bachmann. We got Michele Bachmann.
The penis is like a straw to suck blood from young kids for vampires.
Wait,
that's why you don't see bites on their necks.
You said mole's really weird, Dan.
Do you... Do you think the penis is a straw attached to a reservoir of blood behind the baby's abdomen?
Until the balls drop, yep. Once the balls drop, the source for that blood is cut off. Oliver just wants to lick my tattoo, and he's not supposed to do that.
What's your special powers now? I'm slower and in pain all the time.